Hi, this is MovieDude Eric, and today I am going to be contemplating over the latest Marvel cinematic feature, Thor Love and Thunder. So, before I get started, let me explain how this is going to work. As you can tell, that this is MovieDude Contemplates. This is not really a review, not in the sense that I'm going to be making a recommendation or not. This is me just kind of throwing some ideas out there, trying to kind of come to my own conclusions and kind of the things that the film itself makes me think about. Now, for movie to contemplates, a lot of times that I think about a movie, obviously I'm going to be wanting to talk about scenes that are that are detailing spoilers and stuff like that. So, what I'm going to do, especially for something like a Marvel film that, especially this early on, um, very few people have actually seen just yet. Uh, I'm going to kind of give my overall ideas and thoughts that are not spoiler based right off the bat and kind of give you an idea of where I am with this. And then after I'm kind of done with my general thoughts, I'll go into the stuff that is primarily going over the spoilers and things of that nature. I will be making you aware. I will have a little thingy up on the screen let you know that I am talking about spoilers. So that way, if you would like to stop the video at that particular point and come back to it after you've seen the film, I understand completely. So that out of the way, what did I think about Thor: Love and Thunder? What were the things about the film that really stood out to me? I guess the first thing that I really need to bring up is kind of the fact that Taika Waititi is a filmmaker that I have a lot of admiration for, and that but at the same time that I've been critical about. On my podcast, Art House Legends, I was critical about What We Do in the Shadows, the film that he had made. I've also kind of had some reservations on things like The Hunt for the Wilder People. That said, I loved Jojo Rabbit, and I especially loved Thor Ragnarok. And the fact that Taika Waititi has this ability for me to be intrigued and that I do appreciate what he brings to the films that he puts out there, and then that I want to go on the journey with him, even if I'm not always 100% on his side. But that said, Ragnarok, I was 100% in. It was one of my favorite. It still is one of my favorite MCU films, primarily because of what Taika Waititi did by fusing his comedy in with the usual MCU stakes. And I thought that he found a perfect marriage of those two things in Ragnarok. So going into Thor Love and Thunder, I was excited to see what he was going to do with that. And one particular part that I really liked about Ragnarok was it was actually about something, which was another thing, that he was able to add comedy to it, but it is hard. Ragnarok is really about the sins of the past and how no great society gets to be great by being nice. That usually there's a lot of blood and terror and destruction involved in creating kind of a colonial society such as Asgard. And with that said, going into Love and Thunder, I was deeply intrigued by where Taika Waititi could go, especially considering that for me, when it comes to Phase 4 of the Marvel experiment, what I found that was a recurring theme throughout Marvel's fourth phase is deconstruction and reevaluation of all the things that we've seen up to this particular point in the Marvel universe. Take things like WandaVision, which is easily the best thing to come from the Marvel juggernaut through this particular phase, and how it makes us rethink our ideas of heroes and sacrifice and pain and PTSD and things of that particular nature. Same thing with Captain America. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The fact that it was able to kind of take what they did with Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and they amped it up just a little bit more to really think about the real world ramifications of these particular heroes and what they and the effect that they have on geopolitics. I really loved where they went with that. Even things like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the fact that it was able to rethink the whole idea of kind of the concept of heroes and are they all, can we accept the fact that they're not always good, which I thought was something that I thought that Multiverse of Madness kind of did pretty well on that particular part. So again, I know that Taika Waititi is capable of doing this thing. And on top of that, we've had this whole phase of deconstructing and rethinking what the superhero genre is capable of doing, especially in the Marvel Universe. So I was really intrigued, especially considering that they're also bringing back Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor, and that what could this say about, and how could they do this to deconstruct Thor as a character? And so I was really excited to see where they were going to go with that. And especially considering that the villain is this character named Gore the God Butcher, who in the title in itself, I mean, there's a whole lot that you can go with this. The idea of, of gods, and do gods deserve the adoration and love, and the things that, should we give our loyalty and our fealty to superpowered beings, whether they be gods like Thor or even superheroes such as the ones in the rest of the Avengers. Again, this is I think this is an amazing thing that it could actually get into. And it gets into that for like just a few seconds, which was really frustrating. And I wonder if that was where Taika Waititi was wanting to go, but he just didn't. And I don't want to say there would be studio interference, because I have a strange feeling that, especially with Taika, that Marvel would be more willing to allow him to kind of do his own thing a little bit more than with other directors in its wheelhouse. But I also know that Taika Waititi is extremely busy. And because he has not only this that he's doing, but he also has a couple other movies that he's got going on. He's producing and directing other shows. What We Do in the Shadows, he's heavily involved with. Reservation Dogs, Our Flag Means Death. These are things that he's actively involved in. And so I wonder if perhaps he didn't bring his A game to this particular thing. Because, and another reason why I think that might be the case is primarily because of how it uses a lot of beats from Ragnarok, and how it feels like, it's not a copy of Ragnarok. It's kind of like how you take a kind of like a beat up old car, you strip the you strip the chassis and all the kind of the outer stuff. You keep the motor in there, and then you build something on top of it. And that's kind of what I got from Love and Thunder. Is like it has some of the same elements of Ragnarok, in that it just kind of threw in a couple of new things and then built upon that. And and I'll go into more detail when I go into spoilers, because there's one particular thing that they added, which I know that they added maybe as a requirement from Marvel. I think that maybe Marvel required a couple of specific things to this, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But I don't think really fit into what Taika Waititi was interested in doing. And I could definitely see how these particular changes had an impact on the finished product in itself. But we'll get into that when I get into spoilers. But that said, there's several scenes that I absolutely love in this movie. I absolutely adore several things that this film does, and how it really got me interested into the movie. Christian Bale and his Gore the God Butcher is an intriguing, thought-provoking character that I feel like would have made for a much better villain than he outright came. And so that's one of those things that just kind of is a little frustrating, but Christian Bale does an incredible job of really getting us into Gore's mindset, making us feel for him, especially when we get to the finale. We really get into his mindset a little bit. I also loved the kind of the hall of gods that, and this is in the trailer, so I don't feel that this is a spoiler, so to say. Russell Crowe does an incredible job of playing this comedic part, and it just makes me realize that Russell Crowe is capable of doing so much more than he than I think he even allows himself. I feel like he wants to be seen as this kind of strong silent type, kind of John Wayne, but under Taika Waititi's direction, he turns his Zeus into something that is fun, and that I love the fact that he uses a Greek accent, which I actually thought was pretty impressive, considering, especially if you've heard his singing on Les Mis, you'll understand why one might be concerned about that type of accent. And I thought, especially considering that, although I was wondering at one particular point if he was going to say, "Are you not entertained?" somewhere in the film as a throwback, but he doesn't. Sorry for that's non-spoiler, I guess. But Tessa Thompson, I love that they. I feel, and I'll go into more spoilers when I get into this, but Tessa Thompson, with the time that she has in the film, is really strong. I love what she brings to Valkyrie here, even though the movie in itself doesn't really give her so much to do. And again, when we get into spoilers, I'll kind of go into more detail about that. But, and I know I'm saying but a lot on this, I enjoy the film. I really enjoy what this film is going for. I dig the lighthearted and the comedy aspects. I love the fact that this is a comedy through and through. I know a lot of people have kind of complained about the visual effects for this particular film. And I've complained about visual effects when it comes to Marvel films before, in the sense of like with Black Panther and with Shang-Chi. I've kind of made not so flattering comments about the visual effects. What I think why I'm okay with Thor's use of visual effects in this film is because you get the sense that he's going for a very cheesy visual appeal. In a way, he's kind of the fact that he's using kind of this more campier approach, very colorful, a very colorful film all the way through, that he's differentiating his movie from the other Marvel films. Um, his movie is definitely a lot more colorful. And I'm going to use that a lot because especially the way he uses um, the motifs of kind of light and shadow. A shadow is going to plays a large part in this particular film. I love the fact that he can go from something very colorful and visually gorgeous to something bleak, black and white. There's actually a black and white sequence in the film, which works considering. And I love that he kind of goes between these through these different visual um, cues based on where he is. Um, I love the comedy. Definitely feels it is a Taika Waititi comedy, in the same realm as Doctor Strange 2 is a Sam Raimi horror comedy film, and they have the auteur aspects of for those particular films, even though they do still kind of resemble in the same universe. I will say one thing about Marvel. When it comes to visually speaking, they've taken criticism regarding the ugliness of their film, of their color palettes to heart, by allowing the filmmakers to be a little bit more open to using their own sensibilities when it comes to color. Uh, so all of those things I think are positives. I just at the same time it doesn't have the bite that I was hoping for, especially considering the bite that I've been getting from some of the other Marvel properties. Um, this feels muted. This feels like it like there's be something being held back. You get the same sense with things like the big one that I felt like that was being held back was things like Eternals. Um, Eternals felt held back. I feel the same way about even though I really enjoy Ms. Marvel. You get the sense that something is holding that show back from being better than what it is. And Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm also feeling it. I don't know if it's coming from Marvel itself or if it's just because um, everybody's tired. I'm wondering if Chris Hemsworth is tired of doing this. I was wondering if this would be um, his final appearance as Thor. I was wondering if this would be the final time that we would see some other characters in this. And yeah, I just that's especially like when you think about threes in any kind of superhero genre. Blade 3 had the same problem. Spider-Man 3 had the same problem. Thor Ragnarok was the first one to really kind of take off on the third one. Um, and while I do have my issues with Love and Thunder, I still actually, like I said, I really do appreciate a lot of what this film does. Um, I think that as long as I can kind of just lower my expectation, lower um, my hopes for Love and Thunder, just take it for what it is. It does well. I laughed throughout the film. I had a really good time watching this film. Um, that said, I do have some serious problems with the film, and I think at this particular point, I am going to go ahead and go into spoilers about that. So, at this point, if you are not wanting to know some of the spoiler aspects of this film and kind of my thoughts on these, please go stop the video, watch the movie, and come back once you've seen it, and you'll get you'll get that fix. All right, so I've taken it that you've paused the video at this particular point if you're and have gone seen it. So let's go ahead and let's go on. Let's talk about Jane Foster. I love Natalie Portman. I think she's an incredible actress. I feel that she has the ability to do incredible work, and that when she puts her heart and soul in a project, it really comes through. Ragnarok, I think she wants to put all I think she's doing the best she can with the material that she's got. But I also feel that Taika Waititi didn't want Jane in this movie. Jane, I feel, feels like an albatross in this particular film. That Taika Waititi tries to. He had this idea about kind of gods and you know, and that question of should people put their faith and adoration in gods, and he tried to take that, and he also tried to add Jane Foster coming back, being the mighty Thor, and not really finding a balance between those two particular things, especially considering that it can't. All right, you know what? All right, I'm just gonna go here. What the hell, when it comes to her getting Mjolnir, it literally mixes the message as to how she got Mjolnir, because at one particular point it indicates that basically Thor commanded Mjolnir to take care of Jane, as though, you know, when she gets it, basically Mjolnir, you know, following Thor's orders to protect Jane, especially considering that she's dying in this particular film. And then afterwards, it's like, no, you're worthy, you're worthy. There's a mixed message here. And honestly, I would have loved to have seen Jane Foster earn Mjolnir at the beginning of the film and not be given it like some prize. Are you telling me that she hasn't earned Mjolnir? Are you telling me that considering the work that she's done, the fact that she has, through the 2 Thor films that she's been in, that she has not done anything to be worthy of this? This actually pissed me off, and the fact that they also kill her off the way that they do, and they do it so kind of flippantly. This is disrespectful to Jane as a character, and honestly, I would have loved to have seen Jane become Thor and be her own character. But I feel like at the same time, Marvel didn't know what to do. And I think that they got scared. I feel like maybe Taika wanted this to be Chris's last Thor film. That this was intended to be his grand hurrah, or, you know, his final hurrah, and his swan song. And Marvel decided, no, we need to keep Chris Hemsworth around for whatever reason. You know, instead of passing the hammer off to a new character. It didn't even have to be Jane. It could have been someone else. Hell, it would have been great if Valkyrie became the new Thor, considering that she has more chemistry with Chris Hemsworth than Natalie Portman does. I mean, they do the best that they can with this, but they're forcing this chemistry that they really just don't have. And a part of it is that Natalie is too serious an actress. She's not very comedically talented. I mean, the last real comedy that I can remember is Beautiful Girls, when she was a preteen or a teenager at that particular point. Like, she's not really well known for comedy. That's not her wheelhouse. Tessa Thompson has comedic chops. She has natural chemistry with Chris Hemsworth. The two of them, their scenes just snap, considering there's only 4 scenes that they're in? 5? Where they're actually where they have chemistry? And Tessa carries scenes when it comes with her and Natalie. That's the thing about this. I mean, and again, I say this with love for Natalie Portman. Black Swan, Annihilation, 2 of my all-time favorite films of hers. Jackie, she did a great job with Jackie. She does a great job in dramatic parts. Comedy is really not her strong suit. And I do respect the fact that she gives it her best, and for the most part, she's capable of carrying herself, but with the lack of chemistry with Chris Hemsworth, she doesn't really add anything to this. And I mean, hell, even Christian Bale had more comedic good things going on, and he was not very a comedic character. That's really kind of weird about this. And then on top of that, the adding of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, I kind of understand why they had to be in there, but the fact that, okay, I don't know who had it in their mind that Star Lord kind of, I don't want to say he fanboys over Thor, but you can sense that um, that he has kind of a bit of a admiration for Thor, considering the fact that they didn't really like each other that much in Endgame. Um, their character, it doesn't feel like a character progression between that film and this one, and I feel like if, especially if you're going to have these connective tissues, they need to feel like they kind of bounce from one to another, like how Infinity War kind of bounces from Ragnarok. That you can tell that this, it doesn't feel like an entirely different universe from the one that you just seen. In the feel of those two movies. Um, but I do also love the fact that they found ways to get people caught up in Love and Thunder, considering that this is carrying the weight of the three other Thor films, not to mention the stuff from Endgame and Infinity War. Um, I love how this film really does kind of make sure that you understood what happened in those films to how they connect here. And I also love using Korg as kind of the Greek chorus, um, which is interesting considering that this is Nordic. I could definitely see the Nordic aspect too of what Korg is, and Korg's kind of his voiceover elements. But I definitely love that part of it. Um, but the Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, that felt like it was a Marvel ad. Like, hey, you have to add this stuff in. People are expecting this. They wanted to see Guardians with Thor, and even when they did, the Guardians did nothing while Thor did it all. And I feel like that hurts the Guardians a little bit. That they feel that they really don't add anything to this particular film. You could have literally cut this out, made this a deleted scene, and it would have not. It wouldn't have hurt the film at all. Um, and I'm really kind of curious as to what James Gunn has in mind for Volume 3, um, considering the fact that Taika Waititi kind of dropped the ball in certain areas here. The places that I'm really sad that he dropped the ball. I'm now really worried that James Gunn's going to have that same problem happen with Volume 3. And the thing is that he's intending to end the Guardians story. I'm also wondering if that's actually going to be the case, or if they're just basically, I'm now really concerned. Honestly, I wanted Love and Thunder to be the it for Chris Hemsworth's Thor. Pass the hammer, pass the axe. By the way, I love, another thing I do love, is the fact that that there's this jealousy relationship between Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. I actually love that part. I love the fact that Stormbreaker is actually jealous of the hammer. That was a beautiful addition to the comedy. I love it. I kind of wish that there would have been some resolution on that love triangle between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir, but we didn't. I also think I'm very thankful that we didn't get a love triangle between Thor, Valkyrie, and Jane. I feel like Thor and Valkyrie the I love God, I love that their chemistry. I love the fact that there's this professional respect between these two warriors. I also love that um, Valhalla plays a large part in that. It actually pays off in the post credit scene. Um, in a way, I mean, if we're gonna have Jane die, I do love the fact that she earned her way into Valhalla. I love that um, about the post credit scene. I'm also intrigued by the idea of Brett Goldstein coming into the MCU as Hercules. As anyone who's ever seen Ted Lasso knows, Brett Goldstein is the breakout star of that show, and I could see him playing Hercules. I want to see him playing Hercules, especially. Well, I would love to see him play Hercules along with Thor, but at the same time, I will, I kind of really hope that this Taron Egerton um, uh, casting of for Wolverine goes through, because I could see Brett Goldstein and Taron Egerton um, having a lot of fun playing these kind of two brainless bashers. Not brainless bashers. I mean, that's being very disrespectful for both characters. But these two rage monsters kind of going at it between one another. I think that would be really cool to see. But at the same time, I would love to see Brett Goldstein and Chris Hemsworth share scenes together. I think that would be great. Um, or even just Brett Goldstein and Tessa Thompson. Oh my God, I'm the ideas there. I love it. I'm very excited about that. Um, that said, I I'm I'm frustrated by the fact that they killed off Jane. Um, she didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve that at all. Um, I also I don't know. That's the one thing that really upset me the most. Um, by the way, Marcy, woo! Although I was kind of sad that she only had one scene and then just disappeared. Um, please, more Marcy. Find ways to add her into things because Marcy's awesome. Um, but yeah. So those are really my thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. My initial reactions. I reserve the right to rethink my opinions, and at some point I will go back and watch this again. Um, I right now I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, it's not a bad movie. It's not even this. When I say disappointed, it's just it could have done a lot more than it did. But at the same time, this is Marvel, and Marvel is playing it very safe with this, which really is sad considering how it broke the mold with Ragnarok. It made Thor into a one of the most exciting characters in the MCU in just that one film. And it didn't do that here. In fact, it made Thor the butt of the joke most of the time instead of it kind of having fun with him, not having fun at his expense. And that really came out. The comedy did kind of hurt the action. And so yeah, there's that. The finale, the the kind of Gore doing what he does. I thought it would have been cool if that was his intention the entire time, wishing for his daughter to come back and going to the Almighty to ask for his daughter back instead of him being clear that he intended to kill all gods with his wish. That would have been kind of a cool reveal. that the cynicism versus the hope aspect. I think that would have. I feel like that was a missed opportunity there. That said, um, I love and hate the fact that Thor is now playing dad to this little girl, to Gore's daughter, in kind of being her new stepfather. I kind of love the idea, but at the same time, it sets her up with powers that we never really saw that she had. So I'm curious about that. That said, though, her having a little mini Stormbreaker, I'm sorry, as a father of a daughter myself, it kind of hit me there, and I love that a little bit. Um, yeah, it's a definitely kind of a love hate relationship with this movie. There's a lot of things I love about the film, but there are things that I definitely am a little frustrated, and so that's where I am really with this film at this time. But if I rethink on it, and maybe after I see Thor and other things, or we get that Thor 5 that has basically been promised to us at the end, um, then I reserve the right to reevaluate Thor: Love and Thunder. But that's my view. That's my opinion. What is your opinion? What are your thoughts? Do you think that I have a point, or do you think that I'm just talking out my butt? Either way, let me know. And I will be putting up more MovieDude Contemplates about some of the earlier films of the summer. Um, Later, moving forward, the next big one that I will definitely be doing a contemplate on will be Nope, Jordan Peele's new film. I have a strange feeling that I'm going to have a lot of thoughts about that particular film. But yeah, thank you for spending some time with me talking about Thor: Love and Thunder. This is Movie Dude Eric, and I'll see you on the flip side.